Were you involved in the recent Tucker campaign about the Planned Parenthood?
I was. That was my idea. Yeah.
Okay, so do you guys know about this? Did you guys read about how Tucker was going to donate money to open a Planned Parenthood center in his name, but then Planned Parenthood wouldn't do it?
The idea was, in one of his books, he makes a joke where he says, like, I've paid for so many abortions, they should name a Planned Parenthood clinic after me. And so I was sitting at his house one day, and he was like talking about money, and he was bitching about how he had to pay a very large tax bill that year. And so I was like, I don't know where this inspiration came from, but my idea was like, what if we donate the money and get a Planned Parenthood clinic named after you? And it was also a jokey idea, like we never thought it could happen. And then so we had his assistant, and I'm sure you've had your assistants look up crazy things. Like his assistant's job was to find out, it was like, the extent of the instructions was find out how much this would cost. And it turned out to be like $250,000, which was like a lot of money, but not that much money. And so like he had a book coming out, so we were like, look, what if we if this could work, it would be worth it. So what if we put the entire marketing budget into this thing? And like we actually thought it was, we thought it was gonna happen, and then at the last second, Planned Parenthood, like he was on his way to meet with the CEO of Planned Parenthood, like he had like his checkbook in the car, like it was gonna happen, and then they kind of like figured it out, like they figured out who he was, but instead of being smart about it, they did the worst possible thing that could happen, which was
the best for you guys.
Right, yeah,
right.
Of course. So they were like, they called him, they were like, turn around, we want nothing to do with you. They basically thought he was totally insincere about the idea, but the reality was he was like somewhat sincere, and which is really the ideal position for us, because so we ended up, instead of sort of letting us down easy, they cut off communication, they said some things they shouldn't have said, and then so we ended up placing this item in the media about 6 months later.
Explain exactly how you placed it, because I think that's a pain point for a lot of people.
So I'm fortunate enough, like I have a column for Forbes.com, so something I sort of do in my course of work is like, when I, like if I told you I'm a writer for Forbes, you have one image in your head, but the reality is Forbes actually runs on like a Huffington Post model now, where anyone can write for Forbes. So like I sort of exploit the difference between like perception and reality, and so in this situation, I wrote an article on Forbes.com, which launched this thing as like Forbes wrote an article about this like controversy. And I wrote the article in a very sort of deliberately inflammatory way, like laying out the facts, but to back up a little bit. So this thing happened, and then we sat on it not knowing what we were gonna do, and then Planned Parenthood in the state of Texas, where we were gonna do this, ran into a bunch of financial problems, and it sort of set us up for the perfect counter, because they turned down this money and then had to close a bunch of clinics because of money shortages. So so we wrote this article, and the headline was like, why did Planned Parenthood turn down $500,000? Which again is it.
Great headline.
Yeah, right. And you know the money was actually $250. We just sort of rounded up a little bit.
It's a much sexier number.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't lying. Like that number was thrown around, but the price was like $250,000 to $500,000.
Right.
So of course you're gonna go with the maximum number.
Right.
So anyway, so the article came out, and then I have a marketing team behind me, and we knew that coming, like involving a sort of internet celebrity, involving a controversial political cause, and then also involving a lot of money, it blew up. So it got press everywhere. I think it ended up doing like several million page views overall, like across all the different things. It dominated the media cycle for a week. It was a huge deal. And so at the end of it, the way we looked at it is we were going to give money to someone to get publicity, and we ended up getting the publicity without giving away the money.
Two questions. In the Forbes article, did you reveal your involvement, or did you act as if you weren't? You said
I was very upfront about my involvement,
Great.
and then what I did was I knew I was writing it there. Oh, and then the other kicker is I got paid by Forbes to write this article. Like I got paid by the pages, so I made like $1,000.
Right.
But then I told two other blogs who I knew would be very favorable to Planned Parenthood, I told them I was writing this article, and I gave them like all Planned Parenthood's contact information because I knew that what they would do is immediately take their side. And so I was very upfront about like, this is what I think, this is my side, and then I gave the other side like a chance to like get ready, because like two conflicting opinions is better than like sort of one middling.
It's really smart. I think
yeah.
that's a 10 times idea right there, because that's new for me, because usually I'll think, oh, here are the people who will support this and obviously do it. You never think about arming, giving your opponents guns.
Right, and
Yeah.
they ended up doing like the loudest job, sort of like calling attention to this.
Genius.
Yeah, and then what happened after that is when Planned Parenthood got all this criticism, then PETA came in and were like, oh, we want to get
This was
involved.
great. But what was genius about this was PETA probably has like their own Ryan guy
Right,
on staff
yeah.
that thinks, how can we looking at news stories, how can we take this into an opportunity for PETA
Yeah.
to tell them what they did?
Totally jacked
And
our
PETA's
story.
the people for the ethical treatment of animals. Yeah.
They offered to do like a Tucker Max like spay neuter clinic.
What was it called? It had a funny name to it. It was smart.
Fix Your Bitches.
Yeah, Tucker Max. They're a mobile van of Tucker Max Fix Your Bitches. Yeah.
And so we thought the whole thing was done, and then PETA did this thing, and they went and contacted all these media outlets that we would never have access to because they have like a really good publicity team, and then they got us more press than we would have ever gotten.
And it was a great story. They had their own, like it just fed the fire of the
Right.
Ryan Holidays at PETA, who then said, okay, fine, this guy says he wants to donate money to open a clinic. We'll put him to the test. Hey,
Right.
why don't you fucking give us your money to open this?
Right.
Right. So they're almost trying to get publicity. Get the money and call you out as, they were almost trying to call you out as hypocrites, even though it helped.
Right.
Say, will you give us the money? And then
And
how'd you deal with that?
He said no,
Uh-huh.
and gave a counter offer that they said no to.
What was the counteroffer?
Counter offer was I hate PETA and I would never want to work with them, but instead of doing what Planned Parenthood did, which was slam the door in your face, I'll propose like a solution that helps animals, but like we don't have to work together.
What's the solution? What was the solution?
He wanted to open like a no-kill shelter. Like he was gonna donate money to a no-kill shelter in Austin, and
Right.
they were gonna match the money, and they didn't do it.
Right.
He didn't have to give any money away.
Yeah, but he got face.
Right.
But he kept his integrity.
Yeah, it's called newsjacking is what PETA did. That's
Uh-huh.
the term for it.
Newsjacking, yeah.